Jewish blessing.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to thank Ron and Anthony and all the amazing people who put together this spectacular event. I'm very honored to be here today. I am the founder of A Jewish Blessing and the co-founder, along with Lynn Shanice, who's back there, of A Journey to Blessings. They are both egg donor organizations. Lynn and I have I'm going to make myself seem really old right now. We have over 63 years of nursing experience together. We are incredibly passionate about education, support services. We know how incredibly daunting this experience can be for all of you. And so we are here to offer free education and support services to anyone who would like to come over and say hi to us. We'll be also at a breakout session at 4:20. We've been screening donors for the last 15 years, and the last 8 have been in private practice. And it has been an incredible honor to be working in this community. So I thank you very much. I'm very excited about being here. For me, my biggest concern was that the families coming to me for donors deserve to have really as much information as they could. So my focus has always been on that in that area, and trying to get the information from the donors so that I feel like you have enough information. I walked into a clinic program that was basically given to me, and I remember when I first sat down with the donor pool that we had there, I started going through the applications. I was really horrified at the lack of information that was on those profiles, and meantime those donors were getting matched out. So that really became my focus. From the minute I stepped into this world, my focus became, how do you get information about a donor? What do my families deserve, really, in terms of the information? And certainly, I think just seeing what's happened, I'll call it an industry because it really is, and you probably are aware of that by now. There are places that have thousands of donors, and so it can really make you not know what to focus on. And if I can help you guys figure out where the focus should be, if you walk away today feeling clearer on that, then I did my job. I'm really happy. So one of the things I've noticed is that, so let's see, then you can go to that next. Thank you. This is what I know you feel like. If you guys have been looking at donor profiles at the different agencies, then I'm imagining this is what you feel like. I hear of agencies that have hundreds of donors, thousands of donors, I hear it all. I think that if I were somebody looking for a donor and I didn't have that focus that I would like to give you, that for me I would be really overwhelmed with that. Where do you even start to look? So I want to share with you what I've seen in the families that have come to me, and it's been interesting, so I want to share a little bit of that. Families come to me usually with some sense of expectations, and I guess if I went around the room and I asked each of you, what are your expectations in terms of a donor, I would hear a wish list from you. I call it the wish list. And often the wish list sounds something like, I would like somebody who's 5'7" because we're short in my family, and I'd love somebody who's at least 5'7" who can give me some tall kids. Or I really want somebody who has an SAT score of 1460 because I went to Ivy League schools and we want a kid who fits into the family, and that's important to me. I want somebody who's musically gifted, I want someone who's this. We hear all kinds of interesting things about what people are looking for, and sometimes very specific lists. And then I find that when I work with, it's generally in my straight families, but the male partners in those families will like them to have an Excel sheet with those, I want this, I want that. So I don't know if any of you have created Excel sheets for the things you're looking for on that wish list, but I want to address the wish list. So what I want to share with you is, let me see, Lenny, hold on. I apologize if I'm, okay. What a donor is bringing to you when you find a donor is not that her specific, it's not, you're not only looking at the donor's qualities. In other words, if I had a donor who was blonde with blue eyes, and you were thinking, great, I want a kid with blonde and blue eyes, and I'm going to get that because this donor is blonde and blue eyes. Or I'm going to get that because she went to an Ivy League school and she's got a great SAT score, my kid's going to automatically have that. Really what you want to focus on is not so much what the donor is bringing. This is what you want to look at. You want to see an entire family genetic story. And what I found when I went to the clinic that I was working at was that story wasn't really being given to families. In fact, when a family comes to speak to me, I never really know if I'm the one who's meant to match them. So that's never my focus. I would love to match the families who come to me, but sometimes it doesn't work out like that. But I always say to families, if you want a second set of eyes on a profile and you found a donor somewhere else, send that to me. And I have this universal experience of getting those profiles and really feeling sad when I see the profiles because I feel like there's too much information missing. So this is where the focus has to be. In other words, not only that the donor is 5'7", blonde with blue eyes, but you really want to look at who else is in her family, what are their coloring, because at the end of the day, and I'm going to use my own family as an example, this was the outcome of me, okay? I had brown hair, brown eyes, I'm 5'8". My husband, brown hair, brown eyes, 5'10", 5'3", blonde with green eyes. And I know where that egg and sperm came from. And I was always grateful that I was there and awake when she was born because I would have thought it was a mix-up and it wasn't. So this is what happened. So what do I, and I think maybe because of my own experience, I'm more grateful that I have the background with my own family because I understand that just because you pick that donor who's 5'8", brown hair, brown eyes, and her hair is curly, you can still get that blonde kid with the blue eyes, and so it's really all about genetic possibilities. And so if you open up that world and you look at the genetic possibilities, it makes it a little bit easier because I think when you get locked into that, I want blonde, blue eyes, 5'8", you have a very narrow pool to pick from. Now, the fact that I just said that might mean to you, oh my God, I now have thousands of women to look at because Judy just told me I could look at everybody because I'm looking at the genetic possibilities. And that's not really true, so I'm going to help you narrow this down. So, I don't know. Go ahead. Yes, this is an exercise. Find the sisters. Do I need a volunteer? Does somebody want to find the sisters in this pool here? There are 2 sisters in there.
2 sisters?
2.
It's obvious.
Which one do you think?
That one and that one.
Come up here, show me.
No,
I can see
this one and this one.
Okay, anybody else? Think they know?
I think
I say top right and bottom left.
Top right, this one, and this one, and this one?
I second that.
Anyone else want to guess? You're all wrong, but go ahead. I'm going to let the mother of the sisters show you who the sisters are.
Oh, wow.
This one?
Yeah.
I was okay, so what does this mean?
But they both look like you.
So let me tell you what it means, though. It means that if you pick this young woman as a donor, you might have a child that looks like this. So again, if I could get your focus off of the looks, it really will help you. Because then you start to look from a very different vantage point. You start looking at family history, you start looking at the medical background of her family. And I want to talk about that part of the genetics. How many of you have cardiac problems in your family? Okay. Diabetes. Diabetes, okay. Alcoholism, you have to raise your hand if you don't want to, but, okay.
Does husband count?
No, yes, okay, so what I want you to focus on, and what are the problems in my own family? Obviously, then if you're in a couple, you have to look at the problems in both. So you can't find, there is no such thing as perfect family history. Don't look for it, don't expect it, it shouldn't be. If you find it, run in the other direction, okay? But what you want to look at is what is your family background and where do you not want to genetically load your kids? So let's say every man in your family at the age of 40 has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and their first heart attack got forbid. You want to stay away from a donor who's bringing that same stuff to the table because you want to help reduce the possibility that you're going to end up with a child who's going to be, I call it double whammy for those same issues. Next slide. Yeah, that's one. I don't know where around. Okay, and this is that's where I want you to have, where I want your focus to be. Go ahead. Okay, so I'm going to show you, and it's a little hard to read, but this is what Lynn and I generally will get as a first draft of an application. And I'm going to point a few things out, but then I'm going to go back to it. We have a paternal grandmother died of old age at 70. Anyone think that sounds a little weird? 70. She died of old age.
70?
Yeah, okay, right? We're missing information. Oh, here. This is great. This girl has a 91-year-old grandfather and an 85-year-old grandmother who are in perfect health. Pretty nice. Does anyone think that's true? Or statistically possible?
Yeah.
Possible.
Maybe, but not when it's too many family members. Okay, so let me go on. You know this? Saturday Night Live? This is how Lynn and I react to that application. Really, okay? Because we react like this, look at that. This is our motto. If it looks too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And that's where I want you guys to have a critical eye when you're looking at applications. I find often that families come to us, they're so excited, you know, we found this donor, would you take a look at it? And I look and I say,
she's great, but can you ask these 40 questions that nobody apparently asked? And that's because if it looks too good to be true, then it likely is. So back here, again, to show you some of the issues that we point out. This 70-year-old died of old age. Nah, I don't think so. We have two people here, 91 and 85. It's not possible that they, maybe one, okay, but not both of them who have no issues at all. It's very unlikely. We have it here. We have a 76-year-old with a heart attack here. So I'm kind of sharing with you how Lynn and I think about these applications when we get them. Our thought is, well, he had a heart attack at 76, but what preceded this? What cardiac history did he have? Did he have high blood pressure at the age of 40? Did he have his first heart attack at the age of 40? Because you deserve to know that. I feel like you deserve to know that. So I'm going to go to the next one. This is what our application will look like on that same donor when we're done. This process of collecting this information takes Lynn and I 3 to 6 months. And we are incredibly invested in that process. We sometimes feel like our donors are, we don't understand why they stay with us. Because if they went to another agency, they would probably be accepted and that would be the end of it and we wouldn't be hassling them. And we spend months with these girls and we say, you know what, you need to find out more about this. Go back to your grandmother, go back to your grandfather. Please go to your parents again. This doesn't make any sense. It's a very painstaking process, but it's one that Lynn and I are very committed to. And what we found is that our donors understand why we're doing it and they're actually grateful. We've actually had donors come from other agencies who didn't have to go through the process, they were matched, they did it. Then they come to us and we think, oh, they're not going to stay with us because we're driving them crazy. And they say to us, you know what, I understand and I'm grateful that you're doing this. So they really get, and again, from my vantage point, there's no such thing as perfect, but you want to know what those issues are, just so you can make an informed decision. So what should you hope for in terms of information from the donor? We said you need to expect a realistic, statistically plausible family history. If you feel like you're not in this industry and you're not a doctor and you don't know what that is, you can send me a profile. I will look at it for you. If you haven't found anyone in our donor pool, I will look and I'll give you an opinion. But this is what we shoot for. This is what I want you to have because you deserve this. I want you to take the challenge. This is the challenge. The challenge is, for me, to all of you, when you read profiles, don't look at the photograph first. Because if you look at the photograph first, you might turn away a donor who really would have been a great donor for you just because you ruled her out by her photograph. And again, let me point out that Lynn's daughters look nothing alike, correct? So you could have looked for someone with dark hair and ended up with a blonde child. So you want to kind of make your focus very different. You want to look at family history, medical history. When I say you deserve medical history, this is what you should be looking at. You should have siblings of the donor, her parents, her grandparents, and her aunts and uncles. We've seen histories that people asked an opinion from agencies where there were no aunts and uncles. And I want to share in my own personal family, if my daughter filled out an application and left her aunts and uncles off, we would have accepted her. If she put them on, we would never have accepted her. And that's the reason that Lynn and our daughters cannot donate. We would reject them from our donor pool. It's kind of an irony. But we know the extended family history is really critical. Can you ever get multiple generations? We know you can't. You wouldn't even be able to get it on your own families. If you were looking for family history, you could only go back so far. So there's no such thing as perfection, but you want to assume if there's a gaping hole in what you're looking at, don't fill it in with a nice story. If you see that her grandmother died that her grandmother's 91 and there's no information, don't say, oh, I'm sure she's fine. Or if she says, I didn't know my grandfather, don't assume that that person was fine. Assume that he had every horrible thing wrong with him. Because you're always better off looking at it that way in order to avoid, really something that would be tragic in an outcome if you have a family history that wouldn't be good.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Where do you take the information of the family cases?
What we do is we spend months and months and months speaking to the donor, having her go back to her family. It really is a collaborative effort. It takes a lot of love and a huge sense of humor for the two of us. We sometimes want to pull our hair out. But we ask for the girls to help us. We don't look at medical records. It's not on that level. But we really do pursue it with them. We look, again, for those gaping holes. We look for the problems. And we say, here's a problem. This doesn't make sense to us. Please go back. We challenge them to go back. And if somebody can't come up with the information, but thank you for asking. That was a good question. If someone can't find the information, then they're not in our donor pool. And then we feel bad. We have some lovely girls who apply that we can't accept it because there just is not enough information from where we're coming from. Because I feel, again, that you guys deserve it. as much as you can in terms of family history. That's how you're, so you're going to take the
So
challenge.
there are basically with your surrogates, there's no hole. I mean, with your donors, there's no holes.
Well,
In the
it wouldn't be fair for me to say there's no holes. There's always a potential for
A few
holes,
as
but I think
possible.
yes, as few as possible because we spend
That's
the
our
time.
goal.
We spend the time. Right. If it's not making sense to us,
Right.
then we just walk away.
And I want to say that Judy was the first person that we spoke with before anyone else. And she was our ally and our closest advisor through the whole process. We made all our choices based on her advice, and we could have not been happier. We're very grateful.
Thank you, Seth.
Everything.
It was
Really.
thank you. Anybody else in the quick questions before the next group comes in?
You working with mostly Jewish?
I work with, we have a Jewish donor pool, which is the Jewish blessing, and a Journey to Blessings is an entirely non-Jewish donor pool. So we work with both.